Welcome to today's Explainer. We are jumping right into a literally massive shift in the AI landscape today. We're looking at June 30th, 2026. This wasn't just another tech company pushing out a routine software update. Not at all. This was what we can definitively call Anthropic's Big Claude Day. The announcements they made on this single day represent a huge three-pronged push, and it's the kind of thing that's going to ripple through everything. Our everyday workflows, heavy scientific research, and even, believe it or not, international relations.
And that brings us right to the core tension we're looking at today. What actually happens when an AI launch becomes a matter of national security? Today's material isn't just about making a chatbot a tiny bit smarter. We're going to trace a really fascinating story here. It's a story that perfectly intertwines the hard economics of pricing, some massive leaps in scientific tooling, and a genuinely high-stakes geopolitical drama. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our agenda. First, everyday AI with Sonnet 5. Second, specialized workflows with Claude Science. And third, sovereign governance and the Fable and Mythos models.
Starting with everyday AI, Claude Sonnet 5, the mainstream workhorse.
$2. Yep. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get 1 million input tokens, with output tokens at $10. This is the introductory API pricing running through August 31st, 2026. And this is a huge deal because Sonnet isn't meant to be Anthropic's ultra-premium tier, right? It's their practical, everyday model. By dropping the cost this low for developers, Anthropic is fundamentally changing the economics of AI software. Think about it. A model doesn't need to be the absolute smartest in the entire world to be the most important. It just needs to be highly capable, super reliable, and cheap enough to become the default engine running inside all of our coding tools and business workflows. Now, to really grasp why this pricing is such a game changer, we've got to look at the actual leap in capabilities. When you compare the previous Sonnet 4.6 with this new Sonnet 5, the difference is basically night and day. See, Sonnet 4.6 was good, but it kind of left complex, multi-step tasks incomplete. Sonnet 5 changes the game completely. It is highly agentic. That means it can actually go off, act autonomously, and check its own work to finish those long-running tasks. And get this. At higher effort levels, Anthropic says it even matches the much heavier Opus 4.8 on some tasks. So they are effectively pushing frontier-level reasoning right down into that affordable everyday tier. But of course, bringing this level of autonomous, frontierish work to the mainstream tier means you need some serious guardrails. Sonnet 5 boasts a lower overall rate of undesirable behaviors, and it's much better at resisting prompt injection attacks. You know, those sneaky little attempts by users to bypass safety filters by hiding malicious instructions. It also hallucinates way less. But I gotta say, it's interesting that Anthropic is careful not to oversell it. They deliberately note that it intentionally remains substantially weaker than Opus 4.8 on dangerous cyber evaluations. So they're bringing amazing capability to the masses, but they're keeping the most dangerous tools securely locked in the higher tiers. All right, let's move to specialized workflows. Claude Science, the AI workbench. If you work in research, you know exactly what we're looking at here. This fragmented workflow probably gives you a massive headache. Today, researchers are constantly bouncing between PubMed for literature, Jupyter and R for their analysis, logging into cluster terminals, and wrestling with these crazy bespoke file formats. Claude Science is a highly strategic move designed to fix exactly that. It's an integrated environment where an AI agent brings all these scattered pieces together. It comes packed with over 60 curated skills. This directly addresses the reality that AI products really need to evolve. They have to move away from being general-purpose text boxes and become deeply domain-specific environments. Now, what's really interesting about this is the concept of auditable artifacts. Because in science, getting a plausible-sounding answer from a chatbot, totally useless. You absolutely need reproducibility. Claude Science generates outputs that actually retain the underlying code, the exact environment used, a plain language explanation, and the entire message history. This is fundamentally crucial. It lets researchers verify exactly where the data came from and literally reproduce the results later. It's bringing true, verifiable scientific rigor to AI assistance. And Anthropic makes it very clear. They explicitly frame Claude Science as a coordinator, not a replacement for the scientist. Right now, it's in beta for Pro, Max, Team, and Enterprise users. It's designed to submit jobs to compute resources and run specialized reviewer agents to double-check calculations and citations. And to really kickstart this whole ecosystem, Anthropic is offering a $30,000 credit program for up to 50 AI for science projects. That clearly signals that owning the workflow is the absolute next great competitive frontier in AI.
let's pivot to sovereign governance, the geopolitics of Fable and Mythos.
So, this rapid sequence of events illustrates a completely new kind of frontier AI conflict. In early June, the US government actually issued an export control directive. This forced Anthropic to suspend all access to its highly advanced Fable 5 and Mythos 5 models based on a narrow jailbreak concern. While Anthropic formally and publicly objected, they argued the suspension just wasn't grounded in technical facts and warned it could set a really damaging precedent. Then, on June 30th, Big Claude Day, the Commerce Department lifted the controls after negotiating new risk monitoring protocols. We are now looking at an objective reality here. Frontier models are squarely a matter of national security and government oversight.
And you have to understand the temporary suspension of these models was highly consequential because of the immense power they hold. Fable 5 and Mythos 5 sit way above Sonnet in the capability stack. They are built to work autonomously for much longer periods. They've got massive upgrades in software engineering, vision, and life sciences research. Plus, the pricing is incredible, less than half the price of the previous Mythos preview. So these weren't just research novelties. They were intended for serious, immediate commercial deployment. Suspending them sent absolute shockwaves through the industry. This unprecedented event forces us to ask a really crucial question, straight from our source material. Who gets access to the most powerful models? The whole Fable and Mythos episode is a glaring precedent. Every single frontier lab out there now has to grapple with this new regulatory reality. Releasing a model isn't just about software engineering anymore. It involves incredibly complex geopolitical negotiation. Which leads us directly to a secondary question: what counts as enough evidence to pause deployment? Now, Anthropic has made it clear they aren't opposed to government oversight in principle. They actually believe government should have the ability to block unsafe deployments. But their firm position is that this oversight must be transparent, it must be fair, and absolutely grounded in hard technical facts, not just verbal concerns about potential edge cases. Okay, let's zoom out to the big picture. Anthropic's triple frontier strategy. And this brilliantly illustrates how everything ties together into one cohesive strategy. First, you have Claude Sonnet 5. That's the product. It's giving us everyday utility and affordable agentic power for massive business automation. Then you have Claude Science. That is the strategy. It maps the future, taking AI from simple chat boxes into deeply integrated, specialized workflows. And finally, you have the Fable and Mythos on blocking, the governance warning shot. This firmly sets the precedent that deploying advanced AI is now deeply intertwined with national security and geopolitical regulation. So, the really crucial takeaway is this: we are no longer just tracking who has the smartest model. If the next competitive layer of AI is defined by who owns the specialized workflows and who can successfully navigate geopolitical negotiations, well, who will ultimately control the future of innovation? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating material with me today. Keep your eyes on these three frontiers, because how they develop is literally going to shape our future. Until next time, keep learning.